Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sports for Champions podcast. Today, I'm joined by Naomi Metzger. Nice to see you, Naomi. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So, I'd like to start, if we could, with a recent event. So, 2020, I know it was quite a difficult year for everybody, but in particular for athletics. What challenges did you face?
I think the main challenge was not knowing what to do. Obviously, it was a really scary time for everyone, and I think a lot of people's mental health sort of dipped alongside the physical health because we weren't really able to do much exercise, and I wasn't able to go out to the track. So I was thinking, a competition's still going to happen? How long is this going to last for? And it was a lot of uncertainty, and that made it very scary. But I did actually get a Nintendo Switch and started playing. I can't remember what the game's called, but it's like an exercise game. So I was like, if I can't go outside, I'm just going to exercise like this, and the whole family started to get involved. So that sort of lifted my mood a little bit. And then I was able to go and train in the park with my coach. And then I realised that there was a competition that's going to happen. And then a few more competitions started to be announced, like the British Championships was put back on. And I was able to go to Monaco and do a Diamond League. So even though I didn't train that well that year, it made me value competitions even more because I'd missed it. So in a way, even though it was a horrible time, it made me realise how much I loved competing and why I sort of do the sport. So yeah, I definitely learnt a lot, but it definitely came with its challenges.
Just think, if you can't get access to the track, how are you able to train? Because obviously without a sandbox, it's quite difficult to sort of obviously jump to your potential. How's that?
I think it was literally when the competition started when I was able to actually do a full triple jump. So I hadn't done a full triple jump in probably in about 4 or 5 months. So in the park, I'd just do the step part of it or the lots of hopping, but we just couldn't do that jump phase. So my jump phase was extremely messy when I did end up doing it. But it's kind of like riding a bike when you learn to triple jump, because you kind of remember the movement, so it wasn't too bad. But the main thing that I struggled with is that I actually got COVID right at the beginning, and even now it still affects my chest and breathing. So I've got asthma now and I'm on inhalers. So it's had a real physical effect, but I've definitely got over the mental side of things because it was really a lot of worry at the time.
Awesome. And then, is there anything in particular that you're doing to overcome the COVID, the way you've been feeling? I don't know, there is some techniques and stuff, isn't there, around lung work and that kind of thing? Is that something you've looked at?
Yeah, I have to just change the way that I do my breathing and be more conscious about it, because before especially in the winter season, we have to do lots of long runs, and I didn't really know how to breathe, so I had to literally learn how to breathe properly, and also just how to recover well. And obviously being on the inhalers has helped me, going to the doctor and making sure that I was on the right thing that's going to help me to recover. So just getting the medical help and also learning how to breathe has helped me with it. But I hope it does go eventually. But it wasn't nice when I'm like lying on the track struggling.
I can imagine. Yeah. And in elite sport, a lot of at the highest level, it does seem to be quite a lot about rhythm. So with that time out, how did you feel about getting back into it?
I was so nervous. I had no idea what I was going to jump, but I felt like the pressure was off. Like, everybody hadn't been training, so when I went to these competitions, I wasn't really as worried because everybody was in the same boat. So we all really came together, and all of us, like the global triple jumpers, we've really become friends since then. Before we were okay before, but now it's like we all went through that together and we all came out of it, and now we just have like so much more respect for each other. So I remember after that first competition, we all just got a group photo together, and that's like almost become like a tradition now. We're always getting photos together, and we actually have made friendships. So yeah, it's been really nice.
Oh, it's nice that something positive can come from it. Yeah. Obviously, such a difficult time. So if I could take you way back to your school days, were you always athletic?
No, I wasn't. I always wanted to do like drama. I'd loved being in front of the camera, loved being behind the camera. I used to make music videos and just anything that was sort of creative, I loved. But I just, even though I'm very tall, and I was very tall in primary school, taller than I think all my teachers. Wow. So everybody said, oh, you need to do basketball, but I have no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. I didn't love team sports because I always felt like I let the team down because of my hand-eye coordination. So I kind of discovered athletics a bit later on. I think I was in year 9, about 14, when we started doing athletics in school. And I was realising that I was faster than almost all the boys, not even just all the girls. So then my mum said, I think you should try and join an athletics club, and I loved that it was an individual sport, so I only was responsible for myself, and I also didn't have to catch anything, so that helped. So yeah, I started off sprinting, and I won the Salford schools and the Greater Manchester schools in sprinting.
Do you remember that first race where you realised, like, oh my god, I think I could actually really do this?
Yeah, I think it was Salford schools because I think I wasn't wearing trainers. I think everyone else was wearing trainers, and I was wearing either school shoes still because I forgot my trainers, or maybe just something that wasn't really for running. So I was a little bit nervous, thinking, oh, I'm not wearing the right thing. But then I still ended up winning by like quite a way. So then I thought, oh wait, I'm actually good at this, and I've not even really trained, and I knew I was against some people who had trained for it. So I think it gave me that confidence boost that I could actually give this a real go.
It wasn't plimsolls, was it? I used to feel I really ran really fast in my plimsolls.
No, it wasn't plimsolls. No, I think it might have been like Converse, something similar to those, but they were slippy, so they weren't, not like trainers. So no, not the best for sprinting in.
That's awesome. And then do you remember the first time you tried triple jump?
Yes, and I didn't win. So I think I went to, it was Salford schools again, but the next year, and I was entered in the sprints and the triple jump and the high jump, and I won the high jump and the sprints, and I came third in the triple jump, and I just panicked, I think, and I also just didn't get the movement. As I said, I didn't have good hand-eye coordination, so my all-over coordination wasn't very good. So I thought, well, I'm never doing this event again because I'm not very good at it. But funnily enough, that's the event which I'm now British champion in. So, sometimes if you're not good at something straight away, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get better at it. So I definitely learnt that.
Oh, definitely. Because obviously there's quite a lot of moving parts with triple jump. There's a lot to remember, and you said about hand-eye coordination. How much of it do you think comes down to muscle memory?
I think it's a lot of muscle memory, and you actually do have to switch off because there's absolutely a billion things to think about. If you're thinking about all these things, you just won't be able to jump because there's so many aspects to it. You've got your run up, then you want to hit the board, you've got your hop, and then the landing of the hop, the step, the landing of the step, and then the jump phase. So there's so many elements. So if you're thinking of all that whilst you're doing it, you're just going to be like, So a lot of the time you have to switch off and just have faith in that you've practiced it so many times and you know what you're doing. But yeah, that definitely comes with years of experience.
Yeah. And is there a point in the jump where you know that it was a good jump?
Yeah, but for me, that's just at the end. They have all the distances, so it would be like 11 meters, 12 meters, 13, going all the way up. So as soon as I'm landing, and I can kind of see that I'm over that 13 or 14 mark, and I'm like, okay, that was a good one. But when I'm in the sort of hop and step, I've got sort of no idea. But I know when it's bad because it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts.
It hurts
really?
when it's bad.
Why?
Yeah, because you've landed incorrectly or you've maybe hopped too high. So there's all these little elements. If you do it wrong, it's gonna hurt, and that's why the event's so difficult as well.
So you give like your hip a bit of a jolt.
Or your ankles. It's it can be painful if you don't do it right.
And do you remember your first success in triple jump?
Yes, So basically what happened was there was a competition called the School Games, and I really wanted to do it because that was my first ever athletics competition I watched. We went on a school trip to London at the Olympic Stadium and watched all the best school kids in the country compete. So I thought, I'd love to do that. So to get there though, I had to be the best in the Northwest, and there was another triple jumper who was the best in the nation at the time. So I knew that I had to beat her in order to get to this competition, which was my goal. So we went to the English schools, and at that point she was still better than me. But I don't know, I just had a fantastic competition and I jumped to personal best and beat her. And that meant that I was the number one athlete in the nation.
Wow.
And that's when I knew I was going to go to that competition. So she was kind of on top for years before that, so it was a big surprise, and I didn't even want to celebrate because she was my friend. I felt awful, to be fair, but also I felt happy that I'd achieved my goal.
And do you remember the steepest learning curve when you were sort of getting to grips with the competition?
For me, I think it was actually Overconfidence. When I got to be in, I think I was ranked quite highly in the world. I think maybe I was ranked number 4 in the world as an under 18 athlete. And I was going to the World Youths Championships in Colombia. So I was thinking, well, if I'm 4th, I'm easily going to get a medal, And I ended up not even making the final, and that really. That was a real steep learning curve because sometimes, you know, you think that you're really good at something and you can be overly confident and not realising that there's other people who are working maybe twice as hard, and you can get a bit complacent and not actually put in the work that you should have. So that's what I sort of learned then at that competition, and it was a very hard thing to learn at the time, but I'm so glad that I did.
So how old were you then?
I was 17 then, yeah.
So you were 17 going to Colombia to compete. That must have been amazing. How was that?
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I don't think I'd been on holiday maybe once in my life before, so to be able to go to a different country with athletics was like mind-blowing, and to go to South America, which was a place I never thought I would visit, was incredible. And just being around every single nation in the world, it was amazing. I had a goal to take a selfie with every single country.
Wow.
I didn't get everyone, but I got quite a few. But it was also the most nerve-wracking competition probably I've ever done, because it was my first one in a big stadium. So yeah, I was so nervous, but yeah, it was an incredible experience.
And was that the first moment that you really knew that you were going to take it professionally, or did you have an inkling before that?
I think I had an inkling before that, because my first year of triple jumping, I think, was in 2014, and I started off, my PB was 9 metres, I think 9 metres 88, and then I trained for 6 months with my coach called Tom in Trafford, and then I jumped, my first competition after training with him for 6 months, I jumped 11 metres, so I improved 2 metres. And then a few months after, I jumped 12 metres at that English schools competition, and the under-17 British record was 12 metres 35. So by 2 months after that, I jumped 12.61. So I broke the British record. So then I was like, wait, if after 6 months of training, I've gone from 9 metres to 12.61, I think I can really go far, because I'm the best sort of teenager that Britain's ever had. So that's what gave me confidence, but a little bit of overconfidence as well.
It would happen, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And just for a bit of reference, what are you jumping now?
So now my personal best is 14 metres 22.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay then. So I think anything over 14 is like crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
From what I've read anyway.
Yeah.
And then did you have a lot of injuries during your come up, or have you managed to steer clear?
The injuries that I had were often hamstring injuries, and that was from the sprinting. And my brother, he plays football. He's at Swansea at the moment, and he has the exact same problem with hamstring injuries. So I don't know if it's like a genetic thing, I don't know. But I've definitely learned how to manage that just by doing a lot of, we call it prehab. So that's doing things that you do if you were injured, but before an injury even happens. So it's staying on top of injury, and doing exercises beforehand in case it does happen, and it just strengthens you. So that's kind of helped, and touch wood, I've not had any injuries since probably 2019 or something like that. So
oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, because I imagine obviously with putting so much power down in such a short distance, that it would play maybe in the back of your mind if you thought this muscle can give up at any time.
Yeah, but I think because I know I'm working hard in the gym, and in the gym I have to lift so heavy, like often like two times my body weight or more, just to make sure that I can handle it, because everyone says when you triple jump, when you land on your triple jump, it's 15 times your body weight because of the speed. So
wow.
You have to be really strong. So once I know I've put the work in the gym, I'm less fearful about getting injured, especially knowing I've done the sort of prehab stuff as well.
That's awesome. How do you find the gym work? Do you enjoy it?
I enjoy it, but it can be really long sometimes going to the gym. Like, you have to really psych yourself up, but once you've done it and completed your session, you feel amazing. So sometimes I just know, even though I can't be bothered doing this, or I'm a bit tired, I know that I'm going to feel so happy once I've got it out of the way or hit a PB. So I do end up enjoying it, yeah.
Is there a particular muscle group or maybe like movement that really benefits triple jump?
Yeah, I think it's squats and cleans. So for squats, obviously, it's all your legs and your glutes and everything, so that really helps. And then with cleans, it's that fast, explosive movement, which is just really good for, obviously, when you jump in, you want to be explosive. So those two exercises are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you training mainly for strength, or is it more the explosive thing? So as opposed
it's a combination, combination of both. And we do a lot of single leg stuff as well to make sure that the legs are equal in strength. So yeah, it's a real mix of both.
And then can you explain a little bit about the technique of triple jump? Maybe sort of like how you hit that first board and take it from there, really.
Yeah, so A lot of triple jumpers, they'll have, well, every triple jumper has a run-up, which is measured. So mine is 38 metres long, and there's a tape at the competition, so you have a little marker and you put that down at where your run-up is. And my run-up is 18 strides long, so that's like 18 steps. So once I hit 18, I know then I have to take off. So I don't really look at the board, I just know that 18 is when I need to take off. So with the takeoff, I push off the leg that's on the board, and then I land on that same leg, and that's the hop. And then after landing, I then have to like really quickly bring that other leg up, and then land on that leg, and that's the step. And then this is the really important bit of the jump phase. You need to make sure that you land almost straight, because if you bend or collapse, you're not going to get any power for that jump phase. So you have to sort of time it perfectly and know exactly when you want to straighten your leg out, and then you sort of push up, and then you do the jump phase. So it's a lot of things to think about, but I think the best triple jumpers are the ones who just get the timing perfectly, timing on the board and the timing on those landings. And you also have arm movements as well, which have to be in time. So if everything is all in time, you know you've got a good jump. But a lot of the time it's hard. But luckily you do get 6 attempts, or 3, depending. But I normally get 6 attempts. So
why do you get 6 attempts?
So normally there's if there's 8 people in the competition, everybody gets 6 attempts. If there's more than 8, then the top 8 will get the 6 attempts. But normally I am in the top 8, so I get those 6. So that's kind of how it works.
Awesome, cool. And then a bit more generally, is there anything particular that motivates you to do this? Because obviously it's a huge commitment, and it's a real path that you're on. Is there anything in particular that really motivates you to do that?
I think I just really want to inspire the next generation of athletes. I know that I was so inspired watching the 2012 Olympics, and also going to that stadium and watching the school kids compete who are now my friends. But at the time I was just like, oh my gosh, these people are amazing. And I think I really want young kids, especially from Salford where I grew up, just to know that these things are possible, and you don't have to have loads of money or anything like that to be able to be an amazing athlete. So I think I just really want to inspire the next generation, and that's what keeps me going even when it's very difficult.
Wow. So I guess that London 2012 came around just as you were sort of exploring athletics for the first time, really. Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, it was incredible. I just remember just being glued to the TV, watching obviously Usain Bolt and Jessica Ennis, Mo Farah, and it was just amazing to watch, and it definitely inspired me, and I was like, I want to compete in a stadium like that one day. I never really had an Olympic dream in my head. I know a lot of people growing up, it was desperate to go to the Olympics and get a medal. I honestly hadn't even thought about it until sort of watching it, and thinking, wait, I think I could actually maybe make it one day to this level. So yeah.
So the transition from sitting and watching some of these idols in 2012, was it everything that you thought it would be, professional sport?
I'd say yes and no. Yes, in terms of how amazing it is being in the stadium, and that feeling of walking out and the stadium's full and people are cheering and there's big screens and lights and all that type of thing is amazing. But I'd say no, because there's a lot of difficulty that sometimes comes with being an athlete. As we said, it's a lot of sacrifice. It can be hard financially because not every athlete is sponsored, and sponsorship is where a lot of athletes get their income. So it can also be a bit stressful as well, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with it. But overall, it is what I thought it would be, because you do, like, standing on the podium is just an indescribable feeling. So and the sort of I'm trying to think of the word. Yeah, the way that you can sort of reach out to so many people and inspire like that's like amazing. So yeah, it's mixed.
Obviously, one of the biggest challenges, it's so expensive to compete, especially if you're going abroad for most of the competitions, which I know a lot of them are, the Diamond League and all these kind of things that have come about recently. Can you tell us a little bit about Sports for Champions and the role that can play for you personally in your career?
Yeah, so what's really important to say is that I think some people have the impression that all athletes earn loads of money, and athletes who are on funding earn loads of money, but the reality for a lot of athletes is that if they just did a normal job, they'd earn a lot more, because you don't even get minimum wage, because it's so random. With the Diamond Leagues, it's kind of random who gets selected. Sometimes it's based off your ranking, sometimes it's based off who's got the best agents and all that type of thing. So it can be difficult to get compensated for all the work that we put in. So where Sports for Champions comes in is that you're obviously giving back and inspiring the next generation, but it also helps with the income. You don't have to worry about, oh, how am I going to get food this week? How am I going to pay for this competition? How am I going to pay to go to this training camp? Because that's sort of coming in, that those funds are coming in, and when that stress is off, I just know when athletes don't have financial strain, they compete so much better. Just because you don't have the worries of what's going to happen tomorrow, you can completely focus on your craft. So I think what Sports for Champions is doing is really incredible, and it's allowing athletes to sort of take that into their own hands without the randomness of, oh, is my agent going to get me into this meet? It's like, no, I can go to this school, I can inspire the kids, and then the bonus is I also get some funding as well, so I don't have to worry when I'm competing. So yeah, it's great.
Oh, it's so lovely to hear it from the other side of things, because that's why we do everything we do, so obviously such a big sacrifice, as you just said there. Is there anything in particular that you feel you sacrificed, or something maybe you miss out on that you'd have quite liked to experience?
I think it's often like holidays, because we only have sort of late September to mid-October off every year, so you really don't have time to go on holiday apart from in those sort of 6 weeks. And if there's anything like a festival, like me and Kevin love going to like music festivals, but they're always in the exact same time as the season. So there's things like that, and weddings and family events that we often have to miss, which is, or even like a birth of a new baby, and sometimes we're competing so we can't go, and to go see the baby straight away, things like that. So that's a real sacrifice. And of course, when you were younger, things like parties and all that type of stuff, they were things you had to miss as well. But I think sometimes it's the goal is bigger than the things that you miss, so and you kind of like, well, when it's over, I can also do those things. Maybe not going clubbing when you thought, I don't know, yeah. But some of the things you can sort of do. But a lot of the times you just remember that the sacrifice will be worth it in the end.
Yeah, the festivals will still be there.
Yeah, the festivals. I'll be like 60 going to Park Life. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, make it work. So yeah, it's almost it's not even just that you're competing. It's also the lifestyle that you have to live. That kind of stop you from doing a lot of those things. How often do you train at the moment?
I train about 6 times a week. Yeah, I have about 8 sessions a week. Over 6 days. So yeah, but one of the days is like a rest, active recovery day, so it's not too bad. But yeah, it's a lot of days anyway.
And so do you always eat healthily? I know obviously your nutrition must be really important to you, and then a little bit around lifestyle and sleep and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think those are also sacrifices as well, because sometimes you do want to like eat like junk food and stuff like that, and also you want to sometimes stay up late, but especially when competitions are coming up, you have to be more sort of strict with yourself, and just know that once the season's over, you can do what you want for those 6 weeks, but you have to have that discipline. And for me, I don't really see it as restriction, because I always will. I don't want to withhold myself from eating things if I'm hungry, that type of thing. And sometimes, I do want a KFC or a Subway and things like that. But it's always having a balanced diet, so it's not having KFC all week. If I want to have one a week, whatever. But I think the most important thing is I eat whole foods. So whether that's going to the shop and getting peppers, getting mushrooms, spinach, like buying those ingredients and making something out of them, rather than always just getting takeaways and things like that. So it kind of starts off with making. I always start off with making the food that I'm craving a healthy version. So if I really wanted like sweet and sour chicken, like maybe instead of going to takeaway and getting it, I will try and make it myself using the air fryer or something like that, and just make healthy versions of things. So that's definitely helped, so I can get the cravings in without having to eat processed food. And then when it comes to sleep, I always just try and get 8 or 9 hours sleep a night, and I've always kind of stuck to that. So yeah, those it's difficult, but once you get used to it, it's definitely manageable.
Discipline is one of the recurring themes that's coming up in this podcast series, and it seems everybody works so hard towards the sport. How do you see the role of talent and hard work playing off against each other?
I think you definitely need a lot of talent. Because there's a lot of athletes, and they are maybe 6 foot tall, and they do have attributes that make them, stand out and make them super fast and things like that. But that's nothing if you don't work hard. There are some people who can work less hard and get away with it for a little bit, but then after a while there's somebody who's going to have the same build as you, who works harder, who will beat you. So I think it's definitely a mix of both, but working hard always sort of wins in the end, because even if you are talented, you'd be even better if you did work harder. So,
So there's no option to get around it. You've got to do the work.
Yeah, you might. It's like a shortcut. Like, it might work for a little bit, but then after a while, it's not gonna pay off. So.
Do you think the life of a professional athlete is tough, maybe compared to some other options that you could have taken?
Yeah, in some ways it definitely is tough, because it's that mental. It's a mentally draining thing, because you always have to push yourself to your absolute limits, in training and in competition, and also the pressures that come with it and the anxiety that you get from competing. I often say that, like, the feeling you get before competing is that feeling people get before they do the driving test. And so many people say they were like throwing up from nerves, and imagine having to do that week in, week out, not knowing how you're going to compete and not knowing how it's going to go, and you've also got thousands of people watching you at the same time. But on the other hand, it's a blessing, because we get to go abroad to so many countries, we get to do things like inspire the next generation, going into schools. There's loads of fun things that we get to do, and opportunities, being on TV. Like, these are things that a lot of people don't get to experience, so I'm so grateful for that side of things, but it definitely can be tough.
Yeah. And then how do you feel you cope with the nerves now? Is that something that's got easier as you've got more used to it?
Yeah, I had to start going to sports psychology to help me with nerves, because the same time I started athletics, I actually was diagnosed with anxiety and also ADHD.
Okay.
So once knowing that I was diagnosed with them, it kind of made sense of why I was so nervous and anxious about things all the time. And then I started to learn lots of coping mechanisms. So I started to go to therapy and sports psychology, just to make sure that I could deal with the nerves and pressures that come with being a professional athlete. So one of the main things I remember learning was just breathe in the excitement and breathe out the nerves. So instead of thinking, oh gosh, I'm so nervous, this is horrible, thinking, oh, I'm actually excited, like, these are butterflies and I'm excited to go. And sort of shifting that in my mind helped me, like, deal with what's happening in my body, because you can't really control what's happening, but you can change the way you think about it. So going to these, getting this help really has made me, like, such a confident athlete, and now I barely get nerves when I'm competing. And that's probably why I'm always able to perform when I'm out there on the track.
That's amazing, because it's obviously quite a similar nervous response when you feel the fight or flight. It's adrenaline rushing through, and obviously if you can harness it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's helped your sport in particular? Have you jumped further since that? Have you noticed a difference?
Yeah, what would happen is I used to be so nervous about getting a no jump that I would do like these tiny little strides and back away and take off from miles behind the board. But now I can really go and attack the run up, and I do foul sometimes, but I'm just so happy I don't have that anxiety anymore, and I'm like, I can just give it my all without being frightened of what's going to happen. So yeah, it's definitely helped.
Is there anything else that you do to calm your nerves in particular? Is there music that you listen to or something like that?
I love drawing, so I do like these artworks. It's called Afro Chicks, so I draw like different ones every week, and then I actually sell them as well online. So that's like another way that has helped to fund my athletics journey, and also calms my nerves, because I just love how it feels, just like having an idea in your head and putting it down, not on paper, it's on my iPad, but just getting it down and seeing all the colours and all that type of thing. So doodling and drawing is something that's always helped me as well.
And then do you have maybe a favourite type of music that you would listen to prior to competing or something?
Yeah, before I compete, I love listening to like chilled and happy music. I love listening to music that makes me feel like I'm in a film, because sometimes like you can listen to music that's like from a soundtrack of a film. You look out the window and it's like, yeah, this is like, I'm just in a film, it's fine. And that just like, it puts me into like a different frame of mind going into competition, and I just love feeling happy. I don't really need to be hyped, because just being out there is like, I get hyped enough, but I just want to be happy. When I'm happy, I always compete a lot better. Is
there something that you do to make practice fun? Because obviously, like, it seems about 50-50 with the athletes that I've spoken to. 50% need to listen to energetic music and get really hyped up, and they almost go in to compete angry, whereas I think maybe other people live quite angry and have to calm it down, if you know what I mean. So where do you think you fall into that?
I I actually don't. I don't like listening to music whilst I train because I said I got ADHD, so I find it like almost like sensory overload. Like I'm trying to concentrate, and there's also music and words that I'm also listening to. So for me, I actually prefer to train with no music. But what makes training fun is the group that I'm with. So I train with another triple jumper called Ben Williams, and he's one of the best male triple jumpers in the country. So we often like motivate each other, and we'll just talk through technique after each jump. So that definitely helps, just focusing solely on triple jump like whilst I'm training.
Is there something that you do after a good performance to celebrate?
Yep, food. It's always getting a takeaway in. I'm like, I've ate healthy all week, right? What takeaway are we getting, Kev? Yeah. So we always will get a takeaway to celebrate, and that's great.
What's your go-to?
It's either Domino's or Chinese.
Okay, perfect. And is there a go-to cheat food, for example, that you would go to?
It's always KFC. It's a mega box. Mega box from KFC. Yeah, that's my probably go-to.
And then do you have any advice, obviously outside of KFC maybe, for a young person looking to get into sport?
Yeah, I'd say to go online and like Google your local athletics club. I'd say don't feel nervous, because when I first joined, because I didn't know how to do the event very well, I felt really nervous and I was really frightened to get anything wrong. But I think making mistakes, it's a good thing because you learn from those mistakes, and the more you practice something, the better you get at it. So even if you're not the best, like, don't worry, just keep at it and you will definitely improve. I can guarantee you'll always improve if you keep trying.
And is there anything that in particular that you're looking forward to in the coming year?
Yeah, so there's the Commonwealth Games, which is in Birmingham, so it's a home games, and I've qualified for that, so I'm really excited to compete in front of a home crowd, and all my family are going to come and watch. And then there's also a World Champs, which I've not qualified for yet, but I hope to make it there as well. And there's the Europeans, so it's a very busy year, but no, I'm really just excited to hopefully jump a new PB and get a medal at one of those competitions.
That's awesome. And then beyond that, is there something in particular, like a main goal that you're working towards, perhaps the Olympics or something?
Yeah, I think my main goal at the moment is to break not at the moment, my main goal in general is to break the British record first, and then to hopefully break the world record. And it's funny because a few years ago the world record was 1550, but now it's gone up even more. I can't remember the exact number it's on now, but it's gone up, and the world record holders jumping amazing at the moment. So at the moment I'm going to focus on the British record, and then if I get there, then I think the sky's the limit, but one step at a time.
Exactly, yeah. And finally, this is something we like to ask to all of our guests. Do you have a favourite mantra, maybe something you repeat to yourself as you compete or just before?
Yeah, so I always tell myself, you can do this and jump to your potential. And the reason I say jump to your potential is because I never try and focus on what the other people are jumping. I always just want to focus on me and what I think I'm able to do. If you're too busy looking at what other people are doing, you get distracted. So it reminds me to stay focused and think, you're really good at this, and let's jump to your potential today and stay in the present. So that really helps me.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. And yes, we will see you soon for some more Sports for Champions fun.
Thank you so much. It's been really fun.
Hi guys, hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, be sure to leave us a like and a subscribe, and check out all our other videos for some more great interviews and content. Bye.